Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sharad Kumar. I'm the field CTO of Data at Qlik. So the third trend is about data products, right? So if you look at, in order to get from data to outcome, just build it up, the two major type of stakeholders, right? There are the data producers and data consumers, right? So producers source data and convert it to a usable form that consumers can then use to generate insights, build analytics. But in today's environment, if you look at what do the consumers want? If I have analytics to do, first I have to do is search and find the data in the enterprise. I have to understand what it means to me, what's its context, is it good quality, can I trust it, where did it come from, who owns it. Most of the time it's not in a shape that I can use because it's not built for my needs. At the same time, the data producers are more concerned with how do I get the data out of source system, how do I put it into a platform, how do I protect it. And they're not doing this with use cases and user needs in mind. They don't understand what the business users are going to use it for and how it's going to be used. So what it's really creating is what I call a gap between data producers and consumers, which ultimately leads to lack of adoption, higher costs, and longer time to outcome. So a lot of customers I talk to, they build sometimes data lakes and these data platform, but the consumers are not really satisfied. They say, okay, I built it, but the data users are not getting what they really want, right? So there has been evolution of data architecture over time. If you look at first years back, before these centralized warehouses and data cloud warehouses and lake houses existed, a lot of people would do is if they have an analytic project in mind, it was a very project-centric approach. I would spin up a project team, I'll go find my data, I'll source it, I'll prep it, I'll do my analytics, and everybody's doing the same thing. So it's a lot of duplication of work and not very scalable. So we said, okay, let's move towards the centralized architecture, right? So central IT would do is they'll get the data out of different sources and say, okay, we'll put it into a lake house, a warehouse. This is where Snowflake, Databricks, let me load it there. But most of the time, these projects were done without business involvement in mind. And they were not done with use cases in mind. So there was great promise of reuse, but still the value wasn't really delivered. So what we're really seeing is another type of architectures involved, which are more federated or service-oriented, where distributed domain-aligned data product teams create data for consumption. So this is what you were talking about earlier. Is it always centralized? Yes. In most cases today, most customers are operating in this very centralized manner, but we're seeing this pivot towards more federated service-oriented, where you have different teams building data as products. And I'll talk a little bit about what we're seeing there, right? So what ultimately it looks like is the data product serves as the bridge between data producers and consumers to bridge that gap that existed. And what data products do is they have some value. Data products have measurable value. They have ownership. They have either easy to use and consume. They're good quality. They're trusted, right? They have a life cycle of their own. They're versioned, right? And ultimately, in my mind, what's the most important thing is it brings ownership and accountability to data. So if I sit with a lot of CDOs, with their leadership team and other people, and I ask in a room, who owns data in your organization? Either nobody raises their hand, or a data engineer from the corner of the room will slowly raise their hand, which is a wrong answer. But in this new world, because data product with product thinking, just like every product has a product manager, same thing, the data product has to be owned by a data product manager or a data product owner. So that person is responsible, or person really is a team, is responsible for curating this data and managing the life cycle of this data product. And it's increased reusability and ease of consumption. What that does, it leads to faster use case delivery and reduction in cost, right? So ultimately, what data products do, they simplify your data environment. So an analogy I always use is, think of data products, what data products are to centralized data platform, as what microservices are to applications. So microservices made applications more modular, more consumable, more usable. Same thing data products do. I don't need to worry about this whole thing. Data products is a modular, easy to use component, right? So what's in a data product, right? What is it made up of? So typically, if you look at data was a byproduct of code, right? We wrote some code and we spit out data. But in the world of data product, what we look at it is data and code are all packaged together logically. So the heart of a data product is a data set. Obviously, it's a data product, tables, files. But along with it, what you're packaging is all the logic to transform the data, all the business semantics around what does this data mean, what does this field mean, what is the business meaning of this data, quality rules around this data, access policies around it, who can access this, and if there's sensitive information, be able to map it to the right tier and protect it, right? So some tier I may have to tokenize the data, right? Certain things I may have to redact it. I have to manage who can access this data, data contracts and service level objectives. So think of if somebody looking from outside, if I look at a data product, I should be able to see published service level objective. Example of a service level objective would be, okay, I update this data product every 10 minutes. That's the service level objective I'm guaranteeing as a data product owner to the consumer. These things are missing in the data world today, right? And there's owner. So the owner of this data product will make sure of all these things. That they're pulling the data, they're curating the data, they're transforming it into a shape that users can consume. They'll put the right quality checks, they'll cleanse the data, they'll have the access policies on it, they'll publish the service level objectives on it, they'll define how data should be consumed, because there could be different types of ways you can access the data product. You can access it through SQL, you can access it through APIs, you can access it in a vector form, right? The same data. So it makes it more consumable. Here are some kind of stats in terms of what it shows, like why data products are important. So in the end, it really democratizes use of data, right? So we talked about this whole gap. So it bridges that gap between producers and consumers. It improves productivity. It brings a lot of automation into the environment. So what it looks like in a typical enterprise then is, if you look at, if you have different domains within an enterprise, I have a supply chain domain, I have a sales domain, and an HR domain as examples. I could have different product teams within each domain who build and manage their own data products. So this federation brings agility. So now I don't need to build these central complex pipelines or large enterprise-wide data models, because each team understands the need of the users, what the use cases are, how they want to consume, and then they build the pipelines and model and shape the data for their own needs. And they move at their own velocity, right? So you don't have a central team doing all of this, these domain teams, so create these data products.
What about things that might be common across them, like customer databases, product catalogs, things like that?
Good question. So even though it's done like that, doesn't mean they all operate in silos. There is some still centralization required. So example, typically in these organizations I see is the policies are defined centrally. So example could be that classification you were talking about, and there could be a mandate that if the data is this classification, you have to tokenize it. But that could be mandated. But each product team will be responsible for detecting it and applying that policy to it. Same thing is going to be like a lot of these products, people may have to join these products and they have to be common keys across them. So I can take this data product, which maybe let's an order data product and a billing data product coming from SAP. I should be able to join them if I'm doing order to cash analysis. So those kind of things are still centrally. That doesn't mean that these teams never talk to each other. So it's not a wild west where everybody goes off and create. And also you don't want duplicate data products to be created. There's still some governance required, but largely the activities of, like we talked about, sourcing data, transforming data, building checks on the data, providing business semantics on the data, providing data for easy consumption, tracking who's using the data product, what are they using it for, creating new versions of the data product, managing it. That's all done in this federated, distributed manner.
I would imagine too, the cleaner or well-defined your data is in your source, like an SAP that would have customer product.
Yes.
That'll make the downstream
Easier.
Easier.
Yeah, absolutely. But if it's not, then you got to take that thing and break it apart, right? So again, this doesn't mean that your data is all over the place. All the data for all of this could still be sitting in a Databricks or Snowflake environment. But it's just like you said, what were microservices? You didn't build something new. You just provided a different way to access an application through a very easy to understand modular thing. Same thing these data products are doing. The data is all could be sitting in a centralized data platform, but provides this projection, this package of data, semantics, quality, everything in a trusted manner for consumption, right? So this is another from an IDC survey, again, interesting number. If you again compare same thing, early stage and mature AI companies, you can see that more mature AI companies are beginning to apply this data product practice. Because data products are a great way of delivering that AI-ready data we talked about earlier. Because if you look at all the qualities we talked about, timely, trusted, contextual, findable, all of those apply to data products. We're seeing customers start to think and build data products because they're domain-oriented, they're contextual, they're good quality, they have ownership, and then use data products to serve up to AI use cases, right? So, and this is what it's showing, right? That companies who are more mature in AI are investing in data products. There's a direct correlation between the two. So what is Qlik doing now for this? So we have added support in our platform, Qlik Talent Cloud, for our customers to create and manage data products. So what it looks like is, again, you have data, you use our platform to create these data products, which have the same characteristics we talked about previously. It's integrated data for that domain, it's accurate, timely, secure, contextual, consumable. So you could see a data product, same data, so we talked about, let's say this is a claim data product. I could expose a SQL interface on the data product, so somebody could build a BI report. I could provide the claims data as a file, this example, so somebody could train a machine learning model at it. I could take the same claim data, make it available as a vector interface for somebody to build a RAG. So now, these different type of consumers don't have to worry about it. All they see is here's a data product, which has a nice description, all the stuff, I'll talk a little bit more, and they're able to consume it. So what we are calling this capability within a platform is a data products catalog. Not a data catalog, a data products catalog. So let's talk a little bit more on that. What is a data catalog? So these are, if you look at all the catalogs out there, Collabora, Alation, they're data catalogs. And what data catalog you do is really you inventory your entire enterprise data estate. Every table, every file that's there, every ETL job you have, every report you have, your inventory. All of this. I mean, it's really to manage your inventory with also a lot of governance focus, right? But what we are creating is a data products catalog. So that data catalog could have hundreds of thousands of entities, because every table. What we are creating data products is a way to manage these highly curated contextual data products, which in a typical enterprise will be maybe hundreds in numbers, right? So we are not competing with data catalogs.
So an organization would still potentially do both?
Would potentially do both, yeah, okay. Exactly. Because, so this analogy I gave, if you go to a grocery store, you go to a baking aisle, right? What you're going to see is, okay, there will be 5 types of sugar, you have all the different flour, but you can also walk to a different aisle, and what are you going to see? Finished good, cakes, pastries, or different flavors. So that's the same analogy. You would have both, right? And there'll be time between them, because a data could represent there, but that same data, it's not a copy of the data, but the same data could be referenced as part of a data product, but it'll have all those other characteristics. It'll have owner, it'll have quality, it'll be secure, it may present multiple consumption interfaces, right? It'll have service level objectives, it has versioning on it, and none of that kind of exists on that side, right? And it's packaged, it's transformed for consumption, all this stuff. So if you look at what it may look like is, let's say I have SAP or a supply chain domain, we would create multiple types of data products like orders, fulfillment, receivables, billing, and then they could have a different type of interfaces on them to enable a variety of use cases, right? And that's the capability we are providing in a platform for users to create. And how we're doing it is basically we are creating three different capability planes, I call. The first is, how do you engineer a data product? I'll have to get the data out of somewhere, transform it, shape it into something. So that's done at this layer. Then I have a data product management team which comes in and packages it into a data product. So I'll talk a little bit more about it. And then finally, these data products get published into a data product marketplace, which is an internal data product marketplace where data consumers come and search and find these data products, understand it, and use them, right? So these sets of capabilities all packaged together to really create the data product experience in our platform. So I'll just quickly run through very quick. So what would mean is, let's say if I'm creating a data product from SAP data. First thing I need to do is I need to get the data out of, so I'm in the data product engineering plane. I can get the data out of SAP in one of the 6 ways we support, and we'll get the data out into, let's say, an AWS platform. Now, second part of data product engineering I'm doing is, now that I have all the data constantly getting replicated, these different teams, an order team, a fulfillment team, a receivable team, a billing team, they may do their own things, create their own models, build their own integration, build their own transformations, and finally create some curated data sets using our transformation capabilities. Then what will happen is, if I move into the data product management plane, now the same teams will convert them into data products. So they may select the data set, they'll provide data quality rules, they'll provide the business semantics, they'll provide documentation, they'll manage access control on them, they'll activate them. So activate means I'm going to now publish these data products, so now they become live for consumption. And this plane is where I'll manage the life cycle. I'll come and look at who's using this data product, get some feedback, create new versions of the data product, and maybe if nobody's using it, retire the data product. So this layer allows them to manage this entire life cycle of this. So once they're done with this, now data products are born, right? So they get published into a data product marketplace. So if I'm a data, and these data products get organized, so now I have a data consumer, I will come to this marketplace to search and find data products, understand them, right? There'll be semantics around them. I can trust them. I can look at the quality of it. I can look at the lineage where it came from. All that is provided. So I can build trust score would be there. So I can learn to trust this data product. I can learn how to use it because we're going to have documentation around it, who's using it, how it can be used, sample code could be added to it. I could use it. I could request access to it if I don't have access. One click, you can launch an analytic application from the data products, and then finally collaborate around it. So we're building towards all these functions. So marketplace becomes a great place to vend your data products. Right? So we have added a marketplace component within our product. And finally, data products, the whole purpose is to consume. So now you have these data products, users can build applications, analytic applications against this. And some of them we are pre-building them as well. And again, you could have analytics against each data product, but some type of analytics may require to use multiple data products. That's why we're talking about these data products need to have keys that are joinable. And sometimes you would also create other data products from existing data products, right? Compose higher order data products from existing data products, right? So that's for analytics. So that's our kind of vision that we're working towards from a data product. So what I'll do is I'll run a quick kind of demo of our platform capabilities.
Here we have the typical Qlik Talend Cloud data pipeline. Our architect is moving data from SAP into Snowflake, doing all the transformations that are necessary to build a warehouse, as well as data marts that are ready to be consumed. Final step for our data architect is going to be simply publishing these data sets to the catalog so that they're ready to be consumed by data products. Our data architect will now switch his attention from the pipeline that he's building to the catalog so that he can verify the data sets that he has published are indeed going to be ready for our data product manager to start taking advantage of. We'll switch now to the role of the data product manager. Their first task would be create a new data product. Once they've got the product created, they can provide some description, and then they're ready to begin looking at data assets that have been published to the catalog. Our data product manager is looking to create a new data product for the marketplace that involves this SAP data that was just transformed by our data architect. They would be able to, for example, create a data product that is just for billing or just for receivables. In this case, they're just going to go ahead and select all and create a data product built with all of those different tables. Now that the data product manager has chosen the data assets, notice that some of the data quality is already being calculated. We're going to switch now to the role of the data consumer. They're the ones that want to utilize this data as a product and try to build some analytical applications off of it. Our data consumer is able to easily visualize the data quality for each of the data sets, as well as jump into any of the data sets and look at that quality on a field-by-field basis. Then they may go ahead and jump to trying to look at a profile. They want to see the types of values, the data that's in the fields. They want to see where things may have invalid or missing values. Once they're convinced that they are in fact looking at the right data set with the right type of data that they were expecting, they'd be ready to go ahead and build an analytics app, and that where it becomes easy. They just press the button to do so. All they need to do is give their application a name and then do like the data product manager did and choose the data sets that they want to include. In this case, we're going to go ahead and take every one of those data sets that is in this particular data product and push that to our new application. After a quick review of the data, they're ready to go. All of the fields from each of the data sets in this data product is now available to be used within Qlik Sense, and the consumer can start constructing an application. Within no time, our data consumer is able to start putting some real substance to their application. They're able to surface the information from all of those data marks that were part of this data product that they selected. In addition to just analyzing their data visually, the consumer is able to utilize one of Qlik's advanced analytics connectors to Bedrock's LLM and actually chat with the data to look for advice and insight beyond what's already in the structured data.
Yep. So that was a quick demo. We showed how you could bring SAP data in through our technology. Different product managers can come in and create data products. In this case, they collected all the information, publish into a marketplace. Consumers can come, search and find them. They can look at the lineage, look at the quality. And right now we have built integration into our Qlik Analytics. So if there was one click, they can actually launch, we're able to launch the application. In the future, we're going to build integration to other analytic products as well.
So I was hoping to see more about the data contracts. And so will any of this, or does it support automated data contracts?
Some of that capability is coming. So this one we just showed is kind of version 1 we just launched. So a lot of stuff is coming. It's big on a roadmap, different types of, you didn't see different type of interfaces, right, that you would expect it to see. So all that is coming. Be able to say, okay, I'm going to create a SQL interface, an API interface on them. Here's my data contract, what it looks like. We're adding support where we're going to have automatic documentation get created with the data product. You could have sample code to use. So some of the things I talk about is all on a roadmap. We are at the, I would say, version 1 right now.
Oh, perfect answer.
Yeah. So thank you for being here. So we talked through what are we seeing in the market, different trends that we are seeing. Our customers are building these architectures differently, whether it's for AI, whether it's leveraging Iceberg and open table formats. They're pivoting towards this product-oriented thinking, bringing product thinking to data, and all of that is changing architectures. And we are bringing support for all of these things in our Qlik Talend portfolio.